Yeah, so I found a lot of the language you were using and some of the points you were making about Israel to be rather incorrect. And I'll start off by talking about you claiming that there's a genocide going on in Israel. And so, are you aware of what the definition of genocide is?
Yeah,
What is
I've
it?
cited it. I've cited it truly so many times. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to repeat it one more time. So, genocide means the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. And
Where'd you get that definition? Because that's not the definition
I
that
got it
Israel has signed
from
on to.
I got it from the Oxford Dictionary.
Okay, so I'm going to use the international law one because that's the one I'm referencing and that's the one that I'm holding Israel to account to because that's what it's accountable to.
So
It's pretty close.
you want okay, so
So it's Article 2 of the Convention
you want to
that
read it to
describes
me?
genocide. That's
I
still
don't.
doing.
All right, yeah, go for it.
Article 2 of the Convention describes genocide as a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. To get more specific, we can read off the actus reus and mens rea of it. So the crime committed, right? So the specific crime could be killing of the members, serious bodily harm or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births, or forcibly transferring children of the group. The mental element is to intend to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such. And the physical element is one of those things, one of those five acts enumerated.
And so, if Israel's purpose is to be committing genocide, as you're describing, why would it be that they're only doing this in response to one of the worst terror attacks in the history of our world? That he's been compared by many to Israel's 9/11, right? So let's start talking about what the primary goals
Well,
of the
they
military.
haven't started, their violence didn't start
All
on
right,
October
so
7th.
it's not going to work when you interrupt me, right? So let's go about that, right?
Well, you
Saying
interrupted me 3 times trying to state the
saying their
definition.
violence didn't start October 7th is incredibly wrong. Israel, as we all know, left Gaza in 2005. They've only returned for military operations, and their only presence in Gaza remains at the borders to ensure the safety of their citizens. And as such, Israel doesn't have that intent to kill these innocent civilians. However, when you have terrorist infrastructure embedded within all parts of society within Gaza, such as in hospitals, in schools, Israel has no choice but to destroy this terrorist infrastructure. If Israel wanted to deliberately destroy people from Gaza and the Palestinian people, there would be so many more efficient ways to do this. They're they're going about it in a way where they're really just targeting military personnel and trying to take out the 30,000 members of Hamas who are embedded in all aspects of Gazan society
Okay.
who have committed these terrible crimes against the Israeli
Okay,
people.
Richard. I just kind of want to set the tone for this discussion. Do you believe I have never heard these claims that you're making?
No, I'm not sure, but we're having a debate, and so that's how I'll start off my
Okay.
claims, and then I'm more than willing to hear your response to them.
Okay. So, in saying that the violence that Israel has committed against the Palestinians didn't start on October 7th, you claimed that that was wrong. Well, I mean, I have a world report up from 2019 that references at least, right, 34 Palestinians that were killed by munitions of Israel, right? Just as of October 31st in 2019, right? So not even the whole year. And then also referencing that 80% of Gaza relies on humanitarian aid due to the 12-year closure of Gaza by Israel. So let's reference specifically those physical elements: killing members of the group and deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring upon its physical destruction in whole or in part. When you have an embargo that causes over 80% of the population to be reliant on humanitarian aid, that the humanitarian aid, even then, you limit to such an extent that it is one of the most food insecure areas in the world, they were committing genocide for a very, very long time. All that matters for them to have committed genocide isn't to be the most effective, G-siders in the world, the worst people in the world, the biggest killers of them, right? It is just for them to fit the qualities. So it's unequivocal that they have been fitting the physical element, right, of this crime for a very long time. We can talk about the mental element, but I think it's very clear that at least some statements and active policy goals of the Israeli government as it stands today is very clear, with the intent to destroy, in part, the national, ethnic, and racial and religious group, right, that composes the ethnic group of Palestinians, at least within the Gaza Strip, and clearly brutalization of them within the West Bank. That's a clear policy goal. So, also, you said I was wrong. I don't appreciate you saying I was wrong when I wasn't.
A lot of elements of what you were saying, sure, I mean, you can make these points, but it's about recognizing who's perpetuating all of these negative things that are happening in Gaza. And I think that anyone can recognize that Israel is not the governing body of the Gaza Strip. It's Hamas. And what does Hamas
do? It's an occupying force.
What does Hamas do with money they receive? What do they do?
They do a series of things.
What do they do with aid they receive? Do they go and they give it to their people, the 2 million people who are struggling?
A portion of it, yeah.
Or do they? No, they don't. What they do is they take their money and they build the most elaborate tunnel system in the whole world to allow them to carry out terror attacks that are unparalleled to anywhere else. And you're sitting here with this look as if this is unbeknownst to you. Oh,
no, I'm aware of these claims. I'm just befuddled by the confidence with which you're saying something that's categorically wrong. Hamas, okay.
These tunnels exist, you know?
So it's not true that Hamas gives no humanitarian aid to its civilians.
All right, let's not talk in absolutes here. Obviously, we're not living in a world of absolutes, right?
You're saying nothing of value.
Okay, no, let me rephrase.
No, but you said also
absolutes as a way for you to, prove your point. That's not going to work for me because you're not going to fool me with absolutes. The point is that Gaza gets humanitarian aid, and the majority of that aid goes towards Hamas. Okay, that is a fact. There is a reason why.
And do you have those numbers in front of you?
Pardon?
Do you have the numbers of what proportion they spent on, for example, social spending by comparison to defense spending?
I mean, you're asking for numbers that by no means...
You've made a claim about majority.
You're asking for numbers that would cease to exist in no world as a result of the governing body that lies in that territory. That doesn't mean that you can clearly see the negative effects that you have. That does not mean we cannot see the negative effects that you have cited throughout your whole discussion of the food insecurity going on in Gaza and all that stuff you brought up. And why would that be caused? That's not caused by Israel. That's caused by a government that has had the ability to run Gaza over the last 18 years and has done absolutely nothing to affect positive change within the territory.
Well, so first of all, it's been an occupied territory. It's been occupied by Israel for the past, at least, since 2012, so 11 years.
I don't know what this 2012 thing you're talking about is. Israel left Gaza in 2005. And then it
implemented a complete air, water, and ground blockade upon it in 2012.
I mean,
that's occupation.
That's not what occupation is.
Under international law, they are considered an occupying body.
What international law are you referring to?
I'm referring to the UN Charter. We can get the specific.
Are you really trying
specific statement under? It's Article 49, I believe, under the UN Charter.
Are you really trying to cite one of the most corrupt organizations in the world as a body of evidence within your argument? Because that.
Well, I mean, I already have cited. So, the Israel. I'm not citing the organization. I'm citing the document that Israel signed. Israel signed the UN Charter. Israel signed the UN Accords as well. And they incorporated it actually as part of signing it. You incorporate international law into your national law. So I'm actually citing to you Israeli law.
I don't really know how you can go and bring those lines together or draw them because, quite frankly, I don't know what anything the UN says has anything to do with what's going on in Israel. And I'd rather look at real governing bodies in our world.
Well, I know I'm talking about what Israeli incorporated international law into their national law. Do you understand that concept?
Oh, of course I understand that concept.
But so when you incorporate law into your own legal body, it means actually it becomes Israeli law. So I'm citing to you the Israeli understanding of occupation.
Yes. Yes, you are. But nonetheless, that doesn't change the
Nonetheless,
fact.
you're still going to ignore it?
No, I'm not going to ignore the fact that you're insinuating that Israel's embedded within Gaza and is doing things on the daily to hurt civilians in times of not war.
Well, no, actually, Richard, all I said was that the claim that I'm making right now is that they're occupying Gaza, which they are, according to their own definition. You contest that, right? Making a character judgment of Israel or of the UN, which is totally useless. You've since lost that argument, and now you're trying to move on from it. But they are, in fact, occupying Gaza. And with occupying them, once again, according to their own laws, as they incorporated it with the international law, they have obligations to those Gazans.
I mean, how many gold medals does Gaza have?
What?
How many gold medals does Gaza have?
What does that have to do with anything I just said?
What do you mean? The more gold medals you have, the better of a country you are. What do you think the point of
Gold
medals
medals from whom?
What do you mean? From the Olympics? Where do you think you get a gold medal from?
I mean, you can get gold medal. I genuinely didn't know what you were talking about. I don't know how many gold medals the Palestinians have. Also, how many good athletes you have doesn't denote your quality living. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Why is them having a gold medal relevant to them being an occupied territory? Don't you think that an occupied territory maybe would have a worse showing in the Olympics?
I mean, the Olympics it's. Where did you go to school? Are you like university educated?
Yeah, I go to the University of Oxford.
Where's that? Sorry, I've never heard of it. Is that a European?
Liberal arts college south
I'm
of
American.
London.
Sorry, I go to University of Chicago. I'm not familiar with that's not an American university, no?
It's a small liberal arts college outside of London.
London, England?
But yeah.
What? Why are you like? It's crazy that I don't know University of what Oxford?
Okay. The point is you're clearly attempting to deflect. I don't know why you're doing that. That's a pattern of abusers, right? Which I've had way too many in my life. But let's try and keep on topic. Israel's clearly occupying Gaza. That gives them obligations to Gazans. That means the starvation of Gazans due to their actions, at least in some form or fashion, falls within their purview and responsibility.
But I mean, nonetheless, it's what is
argument there.
Israel supposed to do when they don't have the ability to control stuff because Hamas is running the territory, and Hamas is a terrorist organization that doesn't want to collaborate with Israel.
They could feed them.
What do you mean?
They could not engage in an illegal occupation. Once again, also, I'm just going to let another probe pally up for a second because I need to go get my food. But let's see if this probe pally is chill.